another party which has suddenly burst onto the scene has created a lot of sensation uh, in Bihar, which is Jan Suraj party.
For the last 30 years, it has been largely called the Nitish Lalu Raj. Bihar, after 30 years, is exactly where it was 30 years before, which is the poorest and the most backward state in the country. But with an unwell Nitish Kumar, what is happening currently in Bihar is a cabal of ministers and corrupt officials together, literally behind his back, looting the state. More recently, we have escalated quite dramatically our campaign on corruption, which has seeped into the fabric of Bihar. Now, I want to say to you that these issues which talk about what matters to the common person were the biggest challenge to the states, because the other political parties, for them, they were subsidiary to the predominance they gave to caste and religion. We believed that the SIR exercise, which began just 3 months before the election for an electorate close to 8 crores, was a flawed exercise in terms of its timing and therefore the efficiency. Now, we have a choice in Bihar, which is frankly humorous if it were not so serious, between a ninth pass Tejaswi and a metric fail Samrat Chaudhary, apart from the corruption factor.
Hello, and welcome to this special discussion on the wire. We are talking today about how the politics of status quo is challenged from time to time, and this creates a lot of excitement, and for the right reasons. So we have seen in the past how the politics of status quo got challenged around issues. It happened in Delhi when Arvind Kejriwal burst onto the scene in 2013 and got 29% vote share in his first foray in electoral politics. There have been parties in the past also who have challenged status quo, the existing status quo. Well, in the past, mostly it was challenging the Congress. Even a party like the BJP, it must be mentioned that for decades they kept challenging the status quo, which was the Congress in the 70s, 80s, etc. And they, for a long time, they were stuck to a single-digit vote share in various elections that they fought. It's only in the 90s that after the Ram Temple campaign launched by Advani that they managed to graduate to, after decades, they managed to graduate to a double-digit vote share. So today we'll discuss how another party which has suddenly burst onto the scene has created a lot of sensation in Bihar, which is Jan Suraj party, led by Prashant Kishore, and it is promising a lot. It has created a sensation in the media. As we all know, Prashant Kishore has been traveling through Bihar, done his Padayatra, 2,000 plus kilometers, and he's raising a lot of issues, which issues which are getting traction in Bihar. To discuss this challenge to the status quo in Bihar, we have with us Pavan Varma, who is the National General Secretary of Jan Suraj Party. Pavan Varma is a well-known name. He's a former diplomat, an author. He was associated with the JDU under Nitish Kumar earlier on, and now he's associated with very closely with Prashant Kishore in Jan Suraj. So welcome to our show, Pavan Varma. We are happy to have you explain to us what exactly is the strategy behind Jan Suraj's foray into electoral politics for the first time, and please tell us how Jan Suraj is challenging the status quo in Bihar, where politics, it is a given that politics is largely caste based, and he's talking about a different kind of politics. He's talking about development, he's talking about a totally radically new way of looking at politics in Bihar. So, why don't you just start by explaining to us how this status quo is being challenged?
Thank you very much, Venu. It's a pleasure to be with you. You see, the birth of Jan Suraj in October 2022 and its journey thenceforth, led by Prashant Kishore, was based on what seemed an audacious and almost impossible task to achieve, which was to seriously destabilize the sterile status quo that had existed in Bihar for many decades and especially the last 30 years. As you are aware, for the last 30 years, it has been largely called the Nitish Lalu Raj, with
Yeah,
the Congress and the BJP being allies of these two figures. But the reality was that in 30 years of their rule, Bihar after 30 years is exactly where it was 30 years before, which is the poorest and the most backward state in the country.
yeah,
So Jan Suraj's aim was to talk of change, and that philosophy of change was essentially backed by a strong ideological anchor. When Prashant Kishore began his Padayatra from Champaran, walked, as you yourself mentioned, for thousands of kilometers, 15 to 18 kilometers a day, with the resolve not to sit in a car or a motorcycle living in a tent in the cold winter, summer, and the monsoons. His essential message to the people of Bihar was rise above caste and religion,
okay,
because these are the two issues on which the same party and the same faces have used you as puppets to come to power. This time, vote for your children, vote for your own future, and vote for change. And in the course of the Padayatra, the strength of this message, its relevance, uh, began to resonate very deeply with the masses of Bihar. Uh, I think I should take 30 seconds to explain to you the macro situation of Bihar today.
please do.
Uh,
Yeah,
One third, roughly, as per government statistics of Bihar, is below the poverty line, multidimensional poverty, which means that literally they are earning less than 100 rupees a day and find it difficult to eat one meal a day.
yeah,
50% of the women are illiterate. Bihar has the lowest per capita income in the country. It
yeah,
has the highest rate of unemployment.
yeah,
So we took up the issue of which matter to the people, essentially rozgar, employment, shiksha, education, swast, primary health care, palayan, because Bihar is the state from where there is the highest level of out migration
yeah,
of the young and others for lack of jobs within Bihar, who then live outside in extremely miserable conditions at very low wages.
Yeah.
And more recently, we have escalated quite dramatically our campaign on corruption, which has seeped into the fabric of Bihar. Now, I want to say to you that these issues which talk about what matters to the common person were the biggest challenge to the status quo. Because the other political parties, for them, they were subsidiary to the predominance they gave to caste and religion. Hindu, Muslim, Mandir, Masjid. Bihar
Mm.
has roughly 18% of population of Muslims, but it is a remarkably composite state in terms of
Yeah.
its religious affiliation. Perhaps Vinu, you don't know that within 100-kilometer radius of Patna, you have Patna Sahib,
Yeah.
which is one of the holiest shrines for the Sikhs.
Yeah.
Then you have Bihar Sharif, which after Ajmer Sharif is a very revered shrine for Muslims. Then you have Pavapuri, which is associated with Jainism and is perhaps their most sacred pilgrimage. And you have Bodh Gaya, which of course you know for Bihar is the pivotal pilgrimage. And next to it you have Gaya, where for Hindus, Gaya Ji, where
Mm.
for Hindus it is the town where you go to pay your respects to your ancestors. So this is the population of Bihar and
Yeah.
the legacy of its history. Now to inject into this milieu religion as a divisive force to deflect attention from what matters to the people
Yeah.
is what we challenge. And by the way, let me say to you that there is a stereotype being perpetuated about Bihar as far as caste is concerned.
Yeah.
That Bihar is the only state where caste is a factor in the matrix of elections,
Yeah.
and that Biharis cannot rise above caste. Caste matters. Caste is a reality. But
Yeah.
in any state of India, if you go to Karnataka, it's Lingayats versus Vokkaligas. If you go
Yeah.
to Andhra, it's Kappus versus Reddis. And the tapestry of caste loyalties is there in every state. But somehow
True.
it was made out that in Bihar, people are more or less imprisoned or unable to liberate themselves from the shackles of caste loyalties, even at the cost of their own interest, which we have exploded.
Yeah.
Because our message for change now has a over 60% constituency. People
Okay.
want love.
Have you?
And
Is this based on some survey that you've done that 60% of the people want to sort of focus
you
on more
know,
on development rather than caste as an issue?
you will see it in the election results, but I am not going there.
Hmm.
You know Prashant Kishore, if there is one thing that he has an almost unparalleled expertise upon, it
Hmm.
is organization. Organizations are based on surveys, feedback, scientific surveys, feedback from those surveys, which are then crunched into what is a very systemic analysis of the situation on the ground. We
Pawan,
are
can you tell me,
also
Pawan, what is the age group of the people surveyed that you're talking about?
we
When
are
you say
we,
60%, 60% want to rise above the caste
that is
equations in the
our
party.
estimate. That is
Uh,
our estimate that at this time,
hmm.
given the emergence of a third alternative, which is Jan Suraj to the Mahagathbandhan and the NDA coalition,
Yeah.
60% or above of the people of Bihar want change, cutting
Okay.
across, and this is important, caste.
Across age groups. Yeah. Okay.
And also, you must bear in mind that in terms of its demographic profile, perhaps Bihar has the largest number of young voters compared to any other state in the country. It's a large state with a population of almost 14 crore.
Yeah.
And one third of them are young and are aspirational and want change and are fed up. with the systems that have been prevailing and the parties that have been ruling over the last 30 years. The young want change, and they are spearheading this support for Jan Suraj, but along with them, let us say the middle aged or the elderly who have watched the decline of Bihar firsthand over the
Yeah.
last 50 years, who have watched promises being belied in the name of social justice and Samajwad, who have seen the rampant corruption once people come to power, who have seen the neglect of promises made because their lives of ordinary people don't change. All of them are part of the army that now wants change. And that is the strength of Jamsura.
Okay. So Pavan, I take your point that people across voters across the across age groups, castes, different castes, they are looking for change. Now, now what do you expect? Have you also done surveys to examine what is the extent of change that could occur? Now, I've seen some surveys, one by Sea Water, saying that straight away Jan Suraj may hit some 12-13% vote share in its very first election. Now, if that were the case, would you regard that as a reasonable success in your first election? I mean, I'm just saying, I'm comparing this with say what Arvind Kejriwal, what AAP achieved in 2013 in Delhi, which is a predominantly urban constituency, where it is much easier to pitch economic development as an issue, and he did that, and also anti corruption and economic development, and he managed in his first election to get 29% vote share. Uh, Now in Bihar, would you would the people rise enough above their castes to get a I mean to get a vote share which is substantial and which is material? I mean, I'm sure 12%, which some survey Sea Voter shows, is also, in my view, it is quite substantial. But what is your sense?
For us, these surveys of Sea Voter and others, which pitch Prashant Kishore and Jan Suraj at 12, 13%, 12 or 13%, for us, that is a complete failure from our point of view.
Okay.
We are looking at an absolute majority on our own because we are the only party to have declared in advance that there will be no pre-poll and post-poll alliance, and we are the only party fighting on our own on 243 seats. And you are seeing the current confusion in the two opposing coalitions in terms of division of seats, but that's a separate story.
Yeah.
For us, the 12-13% figure is completely out of sync with ground realities, and one of the reasons for that is that it has not fully sunk into those who are trying to assess what the current situation in Bihar is,
Yeah.
because they are assessing this election from the prism of the 2015 and 2020 assembly election.
Okay.
The key difference this time is that in those elections, there was no third alternative. By a third alternative, I don't mean something of a hothouse plant which has suddenly arisen. It
Yeah.
has risen over the last 3 years and more by more consistent groundwork and systemic party organizational development than any other party has done. As an
Yeah.
example,
Yeah.
let me tell you that the paid membership of Jan Suraj is close to 1 crore 30 lakhs. The BJP on its website has a membership of 70 lakhs. In
So
other words,
you have a higher membership, much higher membership than BJP. You're saying
almost twice.
twice. Okay.
And I want to say that during the Padayatra, what Prashant Kishore did was not merely to reinforce the message for change, but simultaneously to build an organizational structure which should a party be formed, because at that time we had not decided, an organizational structure that could implement that policy of change in electoral results. So we have an organizational structure from the booth level upwards,
Yeah.
and that has been demonstrated more than once. We therefore are the difference is that in a state as big as Bihar, which is not an urban conclave like Delhi,
Yeah.
we have not come up as a hothouse plant
Yeah.
suddenly from one Andolan.
Yeah. I take
Or
your point.
we are an organically developed third alternative, which is the need of the day,
Yeah.
and which is why it has captured the imagination of the people of Bihar. And
Sure.
I
Sure.
can
So,
tell you that if you
yeah.
do well here, it will have a tectonic impact
So,
on the
what is your
nature of
Pavan? Yeah. What's your
nationwide.
yeah? Then can you share with us your estimate, as in Jan Suraj's estimate of the vote share that Jan Suraj can grab in its very first election? I've heard Prashant Kishore very clearly say in many of his interviews that at the moment the two alliances, they roughly have 36%, 36%. The NDA alliance 36% and the Mahagathbandhan with all allying parties uh, 36%, which includes the CPM, the CPML, CPIML. Now, and Prashant Kishore has argued that that 36 plus 36, even if you take that as a base, the last election, so you add 36 and 36, you get 72, and you still have a huge chunk waiting to be sort of harnessed separately, and also some chunks from within this 36 and 36, the two parties. So if you add up all together, what is the potential that you're looking at in
We,
terms of
I'll,
vote percentage? I'm saying, I'm just confining myself to vote percentage. Yeah.
in terms of vote percentage, you have provided the basic reasoning that in the last election, 2020, both these opportunistic coalitions got 36% and 36% of the vote. That means 28% of the people of Bihar have never voted for either of these two choices.
Okay.
To that, and we are confident about it, if you add as an impact, as a consequence of the impact of Jan Suraj,
Yeah.
that 10 to 15% of that 36% earlier got by the two coalitions
Okay.
will definitely break because of the clarion call for change made by Jan Suraj. Then
Okay.
to 28, if you add another 20, even it's 48% of the vote.
Yeah. Yeah. So who's getting the 28%? Who has got the 28% as of now? Outside of the two alliances in the last election, who are the recipients of this 28% which you're talking about?
Actually, the truth is that 28% in the absence of a strong third alternative were filtered away.
Acha, it's
And they
splintered across independents and
just
many smaller parties, is it?
either splintered or sometimes not even utilized.
Okay.
Now that there is a third alternative, there is a floating and undecided vote of Bihar which is not enamored of the two opposing coalitions to us,
Okay.
which is greatly influenced by the Jan Suraj party for Badlav or change in Bihar.
Yeah.
And even the supporters of the coalitions. Let me give you a concrete example. For instance, if you take the RJD, it has taken for granted its earlier MY support base, which is Yadavs and Muslims.
Yeah.
But I can tell you today that with a ninth pass Tejasvi, who is there only because he is the son of Lalu Yadav, a lot of the young Yadav voters are seeking change. Even more importantly, among the Muslims, a large percentage feel that they have been taken for granted and used as a vote bank for the RJD without commensurate benefits coming to them in terms of development. I'll give you one statistic to support what I'm saying. According to the caste census presented by the government and laid on the floor of the assembly of the state,
Yeah.
only 3% of Dalits have cleared 12th class. Only 5% of Ati Pichhadas, which are the single largest segment of Bihar's population, have cleared, only 5% have cleared the 12th class. And
Okay.
of the Muslims, only 7% have cleared the 12th class. In other words, having taken these uh, vote banks for granted, they are now faced with the challenge of another party which is going so far as to say that in our announced candidatures list, we will give representation to candidates not according to caste,
Yeah.
but in accordance with their numerical strength in the
Okay.
overall population cake of Bihar. In other words, therefore, Muslims will get 40 seats. The
Okay.
EBCs will get in proportion to their population.
So
And
your candidate selection is based on the proportion of various
yeah,
communities, right? Yeah.
and among that, even if it is some of them are naturally because of EBC, OBC, Muslim, upper caste, uh, the normal equation, even among those, we will choose, and that has been a long process, by the way, on for 2 years and more, the most meritorious candidates we can find. So you will see that even from our announced list of 116 names thus far, and we were
Yeah.
the first party to come out with a list, as
Yeah.
promised, you will find new faces, faces who have not been associated with the old, sterile, decrepit politics, people
True.
who have a respect in society, people who have a cleaner image or a clean image. So, therefore, even there, while giving requisite representation in terms of proportion of population, we are choosing meritorious candidates
Yeah.
who can be in sync with our essential goal of Vyavasthit Badlav, institutional change in Bihar, a breakaway from the politics of the past.
So Pavan, yeah, I take your point. Now, one critical question that comes to mind is I've heard Prashant Kishore's speeches and his statements, etc., and his long interviews to dozens of channels. His attack and Jan Suraj's attack is largely focused on BJP and NDA, JDU, which stands to reason because they've been ruling Bihar for 25 years, and he says nothing has happened in 25 years. And he also attacked Modi, Prime Minister Modi, and with specific instances, he has attacked Modi, saying that he promised a sugar factory uh, in one of the previous elections, and he in Siwan, I guess, he in a public meeting he said, if I don't build a sugar factory here, I won't come back to Bihar. But he said Modi never delivered. So his whole attack on whether it is around development or whether it's around corruption. It's largely focused on NDA. Now, do you think that this focus on NDA, which is, as I said, natural because they've been ruling for 25, will lead to you taking away more votes from the NDA rather than from the other group? I remember talking to you earlier. You did suggest that there's a possibility that more votes will be would be taken away from the NDA rather than the other side. So, what's your sense? I mean,
Yeah, I'll clarify this for you. First of all, where the Mahagathbandhan is concerned, of which the principal party is the RJD, their Jungle Raj label and reality has left such an indelible mark in Bihar that the reasons to elaborate upon it
yeah,
are there and yet not as necessary, because Bihar has never gone through more or less a worse period of complete developmental drift and lawlessness.
yeah,
So, therefore, that is evident.
yeah,
As far as the RJD's principal ally is concerned, the Congress party, its ambitions far outstrip its organizational presence in Bihar.
yeah.
You know that in 2020 they were given 70 seats, of which they won 90. Now, for that formation which sought to save Bihar from Jungle Raj and has
But
been
Pavan,
in power.
can I make one small interjection here? My impression, Pavan, is that the way Prashant Kishore is attacking NDA on corruption, he's in fact saying that Bihar has never seen corruption on this scale, and he has come up with as documents and other evidence, full evidence to suggest that corruption in Bihar under NDA uh, has been like humongous, and by implication, he he's suggesting that, well, Lalu regime was also corrupt, but that in comparison that appears to be now like small change, so in scale, and he's also giving the amounts involved. So doesn't that sort of in some ways uh, focus much more on the corruption of the NDA rather than, of course, Lalu Jangal Raj is a fact, as you said, it's a given, but
So,
isn't that a bit
Lalu,
of a distant memory then? Yeah,
Lalu's Jungle Raj is notorious for its corruption, but equally for its lawlessness. It's called the Katta Apharan, kidnap, extortion,
sure, yeah,
country-made revolver party.
yeah,
That, of course, we are attacking. What we are shown is that the combination that came to provide succor to Bihar from that Jungle Raj
yeah,
in the last 20 years has A, done very little for Bihar. B, today, perhaps it is one of the most corrupt regimes that has been seen in the democratic history of Bihar. And we give the reasons for it. I mean, we
yeah.
have provided in the public domain almost incontrovertible documents,
Yeah,
affidavits,
that's evident because both
which
Ashok Chaudhary
has
and
put
Samrat
on
Chaudhary are
record,
very much on the defensive. Yeah, yeah,
which has put on record the kind of corruption. And we have also made clear that if Nitish Kumar was not visibly unwell and, and then therefore unable to keep his earlier control over his cabinet, this could have perhaps not occurred, because you remember, we know that Nitish Kumar, even on the basis of an allegation, would dismiss ministers. But with an unwell Nitish Kumar, what is happening currently in Bihar is a cabal of ministers and corrupt officials together literally behind his back looting the state. And we
Here,
have
Pavan,
provided evidence for it.
yeah, Pavan, here I want to come to this very critical question, which is on everybody's minds, and I'm told every Bihari voter has understood this fact, and the fact being that Nitish Kumar is not in the right mental state to govern any longer, and it is the people around him, which includes the BJP, that are actually driving him. Now, if this realization has dawned on the bulk of the people, uh, is there a possibility that people who generally vote only for Nitish and not for BJP, will they turn away from Nitish, knowing that they are essentially not voting for Nitish because he's not going to be he can't probably be the next CM, whatever the BJP might say, whatever India might say. Is that a factor? Because a lot of people are
No.
talking about this.
See, there is a fatigue with the regimen. There is also a sense that Nitish Kumar is not the old Nitish Kumar who could have known him as well as perhaps I did. And I can vouch for that.
No, the
So
fact that
therefore,
also he may be physically, biologically not, be capable, health wise not be capable of running a state like Bihar. Is that a realization that has dawned on the people?
without a doubt, without a doubt, and people understand the reasons for it as well. And therefore, you may have noticed one thing: the BJP is aligned with Nitish Kumar for whatever residual caste reinforcement he may bring from the EBC category,
Yeah.
but only until the election. And on that score, also their expectations will be belied. No BJP leader has said that post the election, Nitish Kumar will continue to be the chief minister if they are in a position to win. In other words, Nitish Kumar is there as a figurehead only until the election, and the people of Bihar understand this.
Yeah.
And who would replace him? Now, look at, for instance, the topmost leader in government of the BJP, Samrat Chaudhary. He is the
Yeah.
deputy chief minister. He cannot produce his metric certificate. He has lied to the election commission on a sworn affidavit, and he has lied to the Supreme Court because he was in jail for a mass murder. He spent time in jail as an accused, managed to get out of jail on the basis of a false certificate which showed him to be a juvenile, and has himself in a subsequent election affidavit given at the time of election in 2021
Yeah.
revealed that at the time when he gave that juvenile certificate, he was actually 26 years of age.
Yeah.
Now, this man who says in one affidavit in 2010 that he is seventh pass, and in 2020 says that he has a PhD from the University of California,
True.
and no such university exists, and the spokesperson of the
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
NDS
Yeah. This fact is,
that
yeah.
the
You're right.
entire
Yeah.
cosmos, there is no institution from which exists and from which he did his BA. Now,
Yeah.
this we have a choice in Bihar, which is frankly humorous if it were not so serious, between a ninth pass Tejasvi and a metric fail Samrat Chaudhary, apart from the corruption factor.
At least Tejasvi is not hiding his status as a ninth pass, whereas Samrat Chaudhary is refusing to publicly say that
I mean,
he's
even R.K.
metric.
Singh, R.K.
Yeah.
Singh, senior cabinet minister of the NDA,
Yeah.
he said to refute it, produce your metric certificate. He can't.
So
So
Pawan,
that
yeah. So Pawan, finally, I want to ask you a very, very critical question, because this is critical because everybody is concerned about this now, which is the final so-called purified list produced by the chief election commissioner has been very controversial. Assuming that Prashant Kishore and Jan Suraj and your party indeed does well and gets people to come to the booth and vote, uh, suppose the way the final list, purified, so-called purified list is turned out, with 14 lakh, fake votes, duplicates, which I assume that the party which has the largest, amount of resources and organization would control some of these. I call it uh, the X factor or the illegal X factor, which is the fake votes. Now, how do you deal with this? I mean, this is a because 14 lakh uh, fake votes. If you just divide it across 100 constituencies, you get 14,000 votes per constituency, theoretically in favor of a party which is much more organized to exploit these fake votes. How do you deal with this challenge? This is something which is really sort of not only, it's not a partisan issue. It's not a party A versus party B issue. It concerns our democracy. How will you deal
This
with
is,
this?
Venu, I've understood your question. Basically, if there is institutionalized, organized, mass, planned rigging, no party can win except the ruling party.
Yeah,
We don't believe that is the case. We believed that the SIR exercise, which began just 3 months before the election for an electorate close to 8 crores, was a flawed exercise in terms of its timing and therefore the efficiency.
yeah,
But with the reliefs provided by the Supreme Court, including the inclusion of the Aadhaar card, our view is that vote chori is not such an important issue now for the simple reason that the poor of Bihar, which are the overwhelming majority, their
yeah.
only umbilical cord venu to the system
Yeah.
is their right to vote.
Okay.
There are few other rights, and they will fight for it. And
Okay.
also remember that parties have observers at the booth level. The election commission has been so much in the news that in itself it is subject to any further allegation of mass rigging. So,
Okay.
unless we accept that proposition that there is mass rigging in an organized and institutional way, I
Yeah.
don't believe that vote chori in this election is an issue that has been given so much prominence to. Also, let me say that let us say 3-4% of the vote is manipulated, if you want to
Mm.
put it.
Yeah.
We believe and we have said that the rest are enough to throw this entire jing bang out.
Okay. And you're certain that given this background, booth level vigil will be very high in the Bihar election. Booth level vigil by all opposition parties. Uh,
Well,
uh,
it,
is that a
it, is, it
you
is a
agree?
system. One cannot discount if there is an ingenuity of that high order as part of the system. But there are observers at every booth level. And actually, we know I feel the following. When there is a mood that has developed in the people,
Okay.
that come what may, we are voting for change.
So basically,
I
you're
don't,
saying that if there's
I
a
don't
wave
believe
election,
the
then it
system,
don't matter.
I don't believe the system can prevent it.
Okay. Okay. Because I'm saying this, Pawan, because Prashant Kishore himself has publicly said that some of the revelations made by Rahul Gandhi in regard to Madhavapura, Karnataka, and the other one with documentation and the alarmed. He says that the government CEC needs to answer those questions, and CEC has not answered those questions. So he, in
Yes.
a way,
So the two pilot
he does say believe that
the two pilot examples that Rahul Gandhi gave, where there seems to be a systemic attempt, centrally controlled and organized for deletion or addition of votes, needs a credible answer from the election commission.
Sure. Yeah.
And at the same time, we have emphasized the need for vigilant voters. In a democracy, voters have to be vigilant about their rights.
Sure.
But in this election, I do not believe, after the reliefs provided by the Supreme Court,
Yeah.
that unless the field has been made so unlevel by institutionalized rigging at a
Yeah.
massive scale, it can prevent people from effecting what they want, which is change in Bihar. And that is the strength of Jan Suraj and Prashant.
Okay. So I hope, Pavan, what you're saying is right. In the interest of preserving our democracy, आपके मुंह में घी शक्कर. Thank you very much for talking to us and laying out your, your Jan Suraj party's priorities and its first big foray into elections. Thank you, Pavan Varma, for talking.